You about finished there to get ready to fish?
Yeah, I'm tying up. Here's the way we're rigging up for the bass.
Oh, we're gonna go bass fishing this morning.
We've got a bobber and then a little sinker, which probably isn't necessary, and then a swivel down below and the hook down here, which she'll put worms on.
We're finally going to go bass fishing. We're heading out. It's sun's come up and it's nice and sunny. So we're heading out. Hope we catch some bass.
One thing all cowgirls truly love to do is open and shut these wire gates. She's real happy now because I'm taking her fishing. The Steens Mountains, as always, are looking amazing to us as we rattle down the little two-track road toward the Owyhee River. The grass is extremely slow about coming up this year. It's been cold and a little bit dry here. It's the rain shadow effect. We see our first antelope of the day out just walking across the open countryside there. Within a few minutes, we reach the Owyhee River, and Marge wastes no time at getting her hook baited and in the water to see what's going to happen in the way of fish. The river is much higher than we were expecting. It's clear full to the banks, and the water is extremely cold. So I don't know how the fishing's going to be. The bass don't like it that much that way. Normally we catch all the bass that we want right here, but it looks like it's not going to be as good today. But we didn't come this far to turn around and go back. We're going to try it. What does he feel like?
He's coming. It's a good one. Oh, it's a carp.
And it sure is a great huge old carp that she has. But we're going to bring him in and unhook him.
Tom's got one on. Is it a bass? The water isn't very clear today. Did it get off?
You might have. As Americans, we usually don't eat carp, but they look like they'd be okay, and I have eaten them one time when I was a kid, and so has Marge. But we know some people from Europe, and we're going to ask them how you cook and fix carp.
He's there?
Yep.
Hope it's not a carp. Oh, good enough. That's a little bass.
We got enough for a feed.
Yeah, we got 2 carp. I should say we got 2 carp and then we got 2 bass. There.
Here he comes.
Here he comes.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Wow. He's a nice one. Yep. There, maybe it got off. I think it got off. It's gone. Nothing. You got something on? Where is it? Oh, get it in. Whatever it is. It's a big trout. Oh, wow. Isn't that a trout?
I don't think.
No, I know what it is. It's one of those, what do you call it?
Pike minnow. Yeah.
It's not a keeper.
No. It's not too bad.
You got it.
But I believe he's carp, isn't he?
You got a fish on?
Yeah. But I can't tell what it is.
Oh, it looks like a carp. Oh, it's a nice one. Bring him in. Yep, he's a carp. He's about like that first one I caught. You don't think he's the same one, do you? Okay.
Just before we get into the little town of Rome, we're going to take a road that goes downstream along the Owyhee River to see where Rome got its name. The early pioneers that came in here said that it looked like the towers of Rome, so they named the place Rome. The Owyhee River has carved out a very nice, fertile, wide valley down here along the river. So we'll follow along this valley for a ways, and then we'll come to the towers of Rome. We'll pass through a few miles of farmland and see some farm equipment, and then in a little bit we'll come to where the towers of Rome are. And the reason this place was called Rome, the early settlers that came in here saw these towers and said, that looks like the towers of Rome. Let's name the place Rome. A lot of this land is in alfalfa, and they irrigate it from the Owyhee River. But the alfalfa at this time, close to the 1st of May, is just barely coming up. On our way to the towers of Rome, we go past acres and acres of alfalfa. This alfalfa, they're using a rather new method of irrigation. They call it gated pipes, where it's just some big plastic pipes with holes in them, and then they regulate the flow that comes out through them and past some more small ranch houses and lots of big tractors. As we move farther north, we start seeing the first of the Towers of Rome. And I'll have to admit, I'm quite impressed by these natural rock formations. These formations were washed out by water, wind, and rain, and they're still eroding to this day. But what neat formations. They certainly look like something that would be at the Towers of Rome. This stone is quite soft and easily formed by the natural elements. Some of these, there's a very natural little valley here, and it looks like it'd be a good place to winter cattle. And we see these formations on both sides as we move on up through the Towers of Rome. The display covers a lot of acres here, and then there are nice level little valleys in between these towers that look like it would have been a city at one time. Each of these little formations are unique, and with a little imagination, you can just imagine why they called it the Towers of Rome. This one here.
Okay.
Sure looks like a real good brick mason has sculptured these pillars of Rome out of some good rock.
So, how was fishing today?
It wasn't very good. The water's extremely high and cold, and the bass aren't very active in those kind of situations, but we caught enough for us a little feed of bass, and so I'm going to fillet them.
Well, that's nice. All I could catch today were carp. So I didn't do very well.
And in America, the Americans usually don't eat carp. In Europe and other places, they're very popular, and they're quite edible and quite good, but we just have never got used to eating them, so we just returned them to the river. This morning, the Steens Mountains are looking kind of pretty.
You weren't feeling very
There.
good the other day.
Here we go.
Some mule deer were out in the field trying to get them a bite or two to eat out of the hay field, and they came and jumped the fence. They seemed so light-footed when they jumped those fences. They just like fly over them, and then they're in the willows and hid. It's time to soak in a hot spring, and so Willow Creek is right. The smaller pool in the foreground is the warmer, and the hot water just comes percolating right up, right out of the ground right here. You can climb up on the little mountain behind it and look it over good. The Bureau of Land Management has an outhouse toilet here and some picnic tables and several places to camp right at the hot springs. Willow Creek is in the background, and it's just a series of beaver dams and beaver ponds. Sometimes I come up here of an evening and film the beaver out working like beavers. Marge wanted to do one of her favorite things in the whole world, and that's to hunt for the little crystal-like things called the Oregon sunstone. They are feldspar crystals, and they were brought up from deep down in the earth by a volcanic eruption, and they were first underwater in a very deep lake for a long, long period of time, and then the lake dried up and they have eroded out of some of the material that they were in. She seems to have a knack for finding the nice big ones, and that would be a big one for a sunstone. And I'm using this spoon to pick them up with, so I don't have to bend over all the time like she's doing. Even the ants must appreciate them because they've decorated a whole anthill with tiny little sunstones that they could carry easily, and they're out checking on their sunstones. There's been an antelope here, and that's their attempt to cover their droppings. They scratch a hole, and sometimes they hit the hole, but they haven't evolved enough to scratch the dirt back over it like a cat. When Marge goes sunstone hunting, she always goes off by herself, and I'll say one thing, you sure have trouble finding her and getting her to stop. But finally I got her to stop, and we're going down Willow Creek and take a look at this old cave in this softer stone. We think the homesteaders may have dug this cave by hand just to have a place to store things and keep things and maybe even sleep in it sometimes. There's an old chimney where apparently an old soddy homestead's cabin once stood right on the banks of Willow Creek. The stone of the fireplace is the only stone in the house. The rest, we think, was built of sod. And there are 3 more homestead houses, the ruins of them left, and these were built very well by the early homesteaders. Good quality stone was cut and carefully placed using mud for mortar. And here's our little 4-hoof friends out sneaking through the hayfield. They almost look like they're just sneaking. I guess maybe they think we won't see them if they sneak, but they don't seem to be minding us all that much. When you go through the desert during the daytime, you may think there's hardly anything lives here, but that is a wrong assumption because there are lots of animals out here, and if you take the time and just move slow, you'll see them, like this little antelope ground squirrel. They're a solitary little animal. They're not in big groups, so they're really probably very little harm to any crop, and they are just cuter than Shuri. We have a few unsalted peanuts that they beg from us from time to time. We only feed them just a few peanuts occasionally so they don't get used to that and so they still remember how to get their own native food. They'll eat a few peanuts and then they'll take the rest and bury them and very carefully cover it over where you can't even find where the peanut's buried. But they think they've got it whipped. But then that night, the kangaroo rats come out and they can smell them below the surface of the ground. And so they dig them up and eat them for themselves. We've placed the peanuts in a circle with one in the center. We're going to see which ones that the ground squirrels will take first. They're usually careful to get the largest ones, and most of the time they try to pack two, but that doesn't work. Well, here he comes, and he took one of the medium-sized ones off the outer perimeter of the circle, and then another one comes. These little animals, whenever they're out in the open, they have to move real rapidly because they're prey for all sorts of other animals. Birds, foxes, and coyotes, and everything would like a nice little ground squirrel to dine on. We found there was really no way of predicting which of the peanuts the squirrels are going to take. I guess that was a decision they had to make as they dart in and out and grab them a nice peanut for dinner. We even put some peanuts on the bottom of a dish pan for the squirrels. And this squirrel says, since I'm here, I just well take two of them. But it doesn't seem like his mouth's big enough for two, so he's going to have to come back for the second one and hoping another squirrel doesn't get it.
These sunstones are made of feldspar crystals, which formed in a volcano in the Steens Mountains. A lava flow covered by a lake was underwater for thousands of years. The hardness of these sunstones are 6 to 6.5. You know, that's not too bad considering a diamond is 10. Sunstones faceted make nice jewelry and are becoming quite popular. Sunstones are found in Sweden, southern Norway, and various parts of the United States, and on some beaches in Australia.
This is some of the matrix that carried the sunstones to the surface. It's sort of a rotten basalt, and it erodes away quite easily, leaving the sunstones, which are harder, on in the area. Sometimes they're on the surface, and there are some deep mines in Central Oregon where they go down pretty deep and dig these out and put them on a conveyor. You can, if you want to spend the money, you can go over and buy a scoop of dirt and they'll run it down a conveyor and you can pick the sunstones off. But we've never gone to a commercial place. We just go out and look for them scattered between the sagebrush in the desert. We're getting ready to do a catch and cook with the bass that we caught down on the Owyhee River. And I've been in doing a bunch of women's work, and I got a little more to do, like peeling potatoes and stuff like that. So what I need is for all of you to watch for dust clouds coming. In case a cowboy comes riding up, I don't want him to catch me doing women's work. This is the interior of our little desert hideaway out here. It's just a real old trailer, camp trailer, but it serves us well. And we've got pictures hanging on the wall. This is some of the wild horses that were standing right outside the fence. And more Lots more wild horses. And my grandpa, with his big Belgium, he used to raise and break and breed horses in Wyoming for the military at Fort Cheyenne. And so that's a picture of him with his big Belgium stallion named Old Major. And he had to get on a waiting list and finally got his stallion from Belgium. At one time, they weren't allowed to ship him from Belgium because they were bred as a war horse, and it'd be like giving a war secret away. Then more horses that come around and look at us. And we have the little antelope ground squirrel here. He supposedly never has to take a drink of water in his entire life, but that little bowl in front of him is full of water, and he's sure partaking of it. And more of the wild horses around. There's one kind of late in the day. And what's a desert without a little baby kit fox peeking out of the hole? And another one of the feral horses. This one, I think they call them paints now, but in Montana where I was raised, we always called them pinos. My wife even has a horse blanket for in here, so that goes well. There's my little cook / cowgirl.
Okay.
And she's got a string on her hat. You
Yeah,
can always tell a cowgirl from a windy country because they have a string on their hat. How do you like opening those gates?
I don't. Okay.
Why don't you?
Because sometimes they're hard to open. Okay. So, I got to get some stuff done here.
We're going to have a cowboy salad with fish, so I guess maybe I will have to cut the salad stuff up.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to put some onion, some chopped up fine, and I don't know whether I'm doing this right or not, but like the first time I've ever tried that. I never did hang out in the kitchen much. My beef's chopped up enough. I'll do the tomato and put these in the bowl, and we'll have us a real nice meal tonight out in the middle of the desert. We're about 7 miles from the nearest improved road and about 9 or 10 miles from the nearest neighbor. So this is really nice out here. And so I'm gonna make us a good salad to go with it. We've got the little antelope ground squirrels here. Just lots of them here, and so we bring them a few peanuts once in a while to eat. They sure are peanut hogs.
There.
I'm going to scoop the tomato into the salad now, and then I'm supposed to put some cheese in it, I think, so I don't know how much cheese to put in. I'll just put a little in.
You're supposed.
My shirt I have on, these are petroglyphs from around the Heart Mountain area. That's southeast Oregon. And then on the back I've got some more petroglyphs of a family group that was maybe migrating. And our daughter, Dr. Annette, made the shirt for me, and so I really like wearing it. It's real comfortable. The petroglyphs on the back are the bighorn sheep. That's the way they represented the bighorn sheep. And the little men that are on the front here, they're called the almond-shaped men, which were typical of that area. I think they were mostly all Paiute. And this is sort of dated. They're using a bow and arrow instead of the atlatl, so that was after the bow and arrow was invented. And in this site, there's some, even in the later petroglyphs, of horses.
There. Here's some little potatoes that Tom peeled mostly, and we're going to boil those and have them with our salad and fish. Now what are you doing?
Well, I'm going to match the crackers up and get them ready to coat the fish with. We sort of have limited resource to deal with out here in the desert. To the nearest good big grocery store, it's about 120 miles, so we make do with whatever we have. Looks like those crackers are mashing up pretty easily. Maybe I'll roll them a little if they will. Then I'll dump them out. Some of those didn't get mashed up as good as they could have. So.
You think you're getting them fine enough?
That should be good enough. And then I guess we stir an egg in
No,
this.
no. Your egg goes in your bowl that we dip. There.
What we put the egg in
Separate bowl.
a bowl, and then you dip the fish into it.
Yes, and then into the cracker crumbs. Here's your fork to stir it.
Boy, I'm learning a lot of things about this kind of cooking. Okay, we have to cook the potatoes first.
Before we
'Cause-
fix the fish.
She wants everything to be done all at the same time.
So we have to just take a break
And-
until the
So we're waiting
potatoes-
for the potatoes to
and
get
then you
done.
can start your fish. I've used a little bit of butter flavored no sticks cooking spray.
Okay.
And then I'll put a little bit of olive oil in it. And that's probably plenty. Then we're going to have to roll our fish in the cracker crumbs. But we're going to roll them this way. Into the egg and then the cracker crumbs. So we'll get the fish. Maybe we'll drain them a little bit. I'll just set them in a bowl.
Now these are the smallmouth bass that we caught out of the flood-swollen Owyhee River. They weren't biting too good, but we got enough for a real good feed for us here on the desert.
It's a total of 3 bass.
3 bass. And it's the smallmouth bass that we usually catch there.
There we go.
Although we caught a few carp,
That we had to throw back.
usually the carp don't bite very well, but they seem to be this time. And a couple of them were really huge. But being Americans, we haven't learned to eat carp. I have eaten them before, many years ago when I was a kid. Where I was raised in Montana, we didn't have carp, and so I never got a chance to eat them. But we have some friends from Europe that like to eat carp, and too bad they weren't here. We could have had a carp feed. But if I get a chance to be with them over there and we can catch some carp, maybe we can have a carp catch and cook. And if any of you people from Europe know some good carp recipes, we have the comments section on our video and we love to read the comments. We're in Oregon's high desert, and I forgot about that, but it takes potatoes and stuff longer to boil up at this higher elevation.
There's a little bit of red.
The potatoes are boiling like crazy. I don't know how you tell when they're done.
There, got that lid. I'll put this in the drawer. Now, fill it on to heat.
No, you get the skillet hot before you put the fish in, do you?
Yeah, I usually heat the skillet up a little first, and then start with getting my fish together.
That's the eggs that she...
And that way I can put them on this plate. Okay.
First in the egg mixture, and then you roll them in the cracker crumbs really good and get them ready to
Put on
go into the skillet while the skillet's heating. The skillet will be hot here in just a little bit.
Okay, I'm getting it together. You almost picks up too many crackers.
Is that all the fish?
That's all the fish.
Wow, that made a lot of fish for 3 little smallmouth bass. Looks like even more than we're going to be able to eat tonight, but if so, they're real good for breakfast cold. So we'll put them in the refrigerator if we don't eat them all tonight and have the rest of them tomorrow. She says the potatoes are done, so the fish goes in. The fish cooks real fast.
Well, we'll just leave them in the water until I'll turn it down on low.
Just to keep
There.
the potatoes warm.
Well, there was 2 different sized potatoes.
Yeah, I peeled 2 different sized potatoes, and I was only supposed to peel 1 sized potato so they'd all get done at the same time. But I just took, like, I've seen chefs that just take a little section of the center of the peeling off from
Oh,
it.
this is going to fill up my
And
skillet.
I tried to do that. Looks like we're going to have an entire skillet full of smallmouth bass. Wow. If we'd had one of those big carp, we'd really...
Yeah, it would have been
Yeah.
more. Okay. They're not quite ready to turn.
They're cooking really fast. They sure smell good. I'm getting hungry now.
That's nice and brown.
Oh yeah, the fish is ready to turn now. So she will turn the fish.
Oh, look how nice and brown they are.
Yeah.
Look how brown they are.
That is excellent. A cast iron skillet is hard to beat, I believe, for cooking most anything.
Now, I'm going to go drain the potatoes because they're ready. I'll just go outside and get mine off. I'm going to grab one of my pot holders. I'm going to put the potatoes in this little bowl, and then I'll take the fish off because I think that fish is just about done. Yes. You don't want to overcook the fish. Then it'll get real rubbery. So what we'll do, we'll take the potatoes, they're nice and steamy, and I'll just put them in a bowl.
Oh yeah, those
There's
look
the
nice.
potatoes. And
The only thing, we don't have any butter left. We've
forgot
been out in the desert for quite a while, and we're running out about everything. But if we starve to death because we don't have butter, it's our own darn fault.
Now I'll take the fish up. And I'll shut this burner off, which I did. And I'll set this on the table. There's the
There's
fish.
our fish.
And I'll go ahead and move that. Okay, here's your fish.
Wow, and it looks great. Yeah.
Here, I'll get my plate. And I think I'll just take this other piece here. And a little piece here. It fell apart.
Yeah, a nice tender fish.
Nice tender fish. There we go.
Okay.
And here's your potatoes. I'll get a fork. Here.
Get a couple little potatoes.
Here. And here's some salad.
Put my bowl over here to get some salad in it.
And I put some dressing on it. Okay, did you want more? And here's some bread.
No, I don't.
Just
want
take
any
a
more.
cup of bread for now. And here's some spread to put on it.
Okay.
Here's something to drink. There we go. And I'll just set this out of the way. Okay. Now, let's have some fish. All right, I'll use my napkin.
How's the fish?
It was very good.
Well, when that river goes down a little lower, then we'll get down there and catch a lot more fish and probably bigger ones, but at least we caught enough for one feed.
And the potatoes are very good too. They're little yellow potatoes.
With just mainly the center peeled on them. All good things must come to an end, so it looks like we're going to have to head home and get back to work, whether we like it or not.